Don at Airbrush Technique Magazine, airbrushmag.com, the best airbrush magazine published. In running our airbrush support forum over the last 5 or 6 years, one of the most common questions we hear is, how do I take my airbrush apart to clean it? How do I get it back together after I've cleaned it? Here we're going to take a Harder Steenbeck Ultra bottom feed airbrush apart and put it back together. First thing you want to do is remove the back handle, remove the chucking nut. It unscrews. Make sure you put all this stuff in a bowl so you don't lose it. Don't do it over the sink so it goes down the drain. Remove the needle. Remove the chucking nut, spring and guide. Remove the trigger. Go into the front of the airbrush. Remove the air cap. Inside the air cap is the tip. After you've gotten all this clean and you want to reassemble it, it's just the opposite. You put your tip in. Make sure it has a little gasket on the end. Tighten it down. Put your trigger in. Trigger is slotted. The slots need to run the length of the airbrush so that the needle can fit through it. When the trigger is in there properly, it sits right on top of the air valve. When you push down on the trigger, it springs back up. Next, we'll put the guide back in. That little square fits in the back of the trigger. Make sure it fits in there good. Put your spring on. Screw the cap back on. Use some super lube on your needle. That's super lube. You can get it at any retailer that sells Iwata products. Install your needle. Push it in until you feel it just seat in the tip. Don't force it in there. Put the chucking nut back on. Put your back handle back on. Now to check the operation, before you hook it up to your compressor, if you push down on the trigger, it should spring back up. If you pull back on the trigger, you should be able to see the needle moving in and out. I hope you found this helpful. This is Don at Airbrush Technique Magazine, airbrushmag.com. If you have any further airbrush related questions or problems, register on our airbrush support forum at airbrushmag.com. Thank you.